Hey, how's everybody doing? What's up? It's Level Up Vega. Welcome back to my channel. Now, this is going to be one of the first videos I think that I actually really talk in, and I wanted to make it kind of like a podcast, but it's definitely not going to be a podcast. But it might be the first episode. I mean, just let me know in the comments and we'll see how it goes. But the topic I wanted to talk about was there was a girl on TikTok, and she said questions for men, or one question for men. What would you do in the scenario of you are opening your passenger car door for your wife or your mother, and they both rush to the scene, and they both rush to get in the passenger seat? Who do you give it to? So that's the question, and I responded and I said something along these lines, and I still carry this opinion. I really think that in that scenario, because she was pulling a whole bunch of cards saying that your mother gave birth to you, it should be your mother, but it should be your wife because she puts up with you and all these things or whatever. And then at the end, she was like, "Is it mother? Who comes first in importance, mother, daughter, or wife?" So going off her first question, I would say your mother should definitely get that seat. And the reason why is because she already put up with you. She gave birth to you. And if she's in the picture and she loves you and she cares about you and you love and care about your mother and both of you are on the same page and you get the picture, right? If she's part of the picture, then she should get that seat. And it should be obvious to the wife and to yourself, being the man in the situation, the son and the husband. There should be no question about it. Your mother should be getting a seat. Now, I also said something a little slick. I said something like, what is the point of, like, what type of woman is going to be taking that passenger seat that you're offering to your mother, or let's say to both of them, and the wife just doesn't know if the mother wanted it or not. Whatever the case is, what wife is gonna like think to herself, I deserve that seat over his mother? Like I said, if you and your mother are in good standing, you both love each other, and your mother's part of the picture. That your wife has to be on some weird tip. Like she has to be in it for the money. That's such a big red flag. And I said a lot of that. That's such a big red flag, and I can't see any woman at all, a girl that I'm dating, a girl that I met. I can't see, let alone guys. If I have a guy friend and we're riding with my mom for some reason, he's going in the trunk. Like, there's no doubt about it. But even like when it comes to girls too, it's like it's almost like the same situation. Like you should know, especially if you're my wife, you should know to get in that back seat with my daughter. Wouldn't that be perfect? And my mother gets the passenger seat. Like it's a form of like I want to say maybe experienced. Like you got to be experienced in order to, but you don't need experience for that. That's just common sense and that's common knowledge, man. I'd even go as far as say if your dad's part of the picture, you love your dad, da da da. Your dad should be getting the passenger seat, and like let's say all the genders are reversed. You're and you're a wife. That hubby should be in the back seat, man. Well, if not the trunk. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. Like, period, point blank. If anybody wants to fight me about that, write me in the comments. I will respond to every comment that I get. Now, because I will defend, I will die on that hill. Now, that question being aside, her second question was who comes first in importance. Now, that is a tougher one because that's like who's more important to you? Who do you love more? And those type of questions I don't like because those type of questions you can kind of manipulate and spin in any type of direction you want. So let's say my wife's not mm, let's say my wife is she just been through something recently. She doesn't want to talk. She's not in the mood for like conversation. She's not like like all happy and perky like she usually is, right? Just she's off, and like she's talking to her mother about it or her father about it, and she's talking to them on the phone and stuff, and like trying to cope with whatever situation she's going through, keeping you out of the picture. What like like I can say at that point, like let's say, what is your mother more important than me? Oh, do you love your mother more than me? It's like that based on that question that she asked and that TikTok girl asked. It's like no, you can't be. That's not the same thing. That's not fair. You can't ask somebody whether you love me. That's like if your children, you got a son and a daughter, or two sons, two daughters, whatever, and they all ask you who do you love more. What's your answer gonna be? Like, I love all of you. I love all of you the same. So it's goes for the same thing with like everybody. You should love everybody, every one of your friends and family members, or in this case, family members. You should love them all equally. It's not going to be the same type of love. Like you shouldn't love, or you probably shouldn't love your mother like you love your daughter, or love your brother like you love your father. Like there's different levels of different types of love. We don't even understand what that emotion is. So I feel like to try to understand it, or to not even try to understand it, and to go as far to say, like, who do you love more? Like, or who's more important in your life? That's just a very far stretch, and I don't agree with that at all. Now, importance is something different too. Do you see how people can easily manipulate the question and manipulate different things? It's she throws mixes love with importance. Like that's so different. There's so many different definitions to each one of those things. More, of course, more love than importance. Importance is pretty standalone. It has its own standalone definition, which is for most people, like who is for this question of who's most important. It's like who are you putting before yourself, and who's highest up before yourself if there's multiple people. For me, it's got to be God, obviously, because God gave me everyone, and God is just the source of everything and everyone. He gave me everything that I have, so I have to, with just love, care, and affection, and just humbleness and gratefulness, be accepting of Him, believe in Him, have faith. So He's obviously no question about it. God's first, right? Okay. Now that we're all on the same page, like let's say everybody's in the family's on the same page, right? Who comes first? Already that's a trivial question. We already know that. So we'll put that aside, right? Let's say it's a legit question. It's not, but it's like let's say it is. I'm not gonna answer. I'm gonna say it's based on the situation. Because you want to base it on importance, right? I'll base it on the situation. So you tell me between mother, daughter, and wife, if they were all hostage, and they said this guy these guys had guns aimed at him or whatever, or this one guy had a gun aimed at him, and you don't know how many you could save. You can just save you can probably save all three. You don't know, but you're just rushing in. Who are you grabbing first? Is my analogy. That's what I'm getting to. And based on responsibility, I feel like I'd have to go for my daughter first. Like there's no other option because you can take it to a statistic level. Like, oh, my daughter's like 5 years old. She's probably got like 95 more years to go or more, depending on how I raise her and how she lives her life and stuff. Wife is like halfway there, and then mother is like a quarter. Like you can take it. So it's got to be this. Like you can do all that. I don't do all that. I go based off like let's say between those three, who's my responsibility? Who am I responsible for? If remember God's first, right? In my life. So if God's looking at me and looking at the situation, and He sees me, and he's waiting for me to make that move, who am I gonna save first? Well, like put yourself in those shoes. Who do you expect that husband, that man, that son? Who do you expect to save first? Who do you expect him to save first? Obviously, it's gonna be your daughter. So I would go daughter, and then based on who you are, and like of course like if your mother's part of the picture, if your wife is part of the picture, that like these questions, like everything is almost different. So then you can't really answer like, oh, it's gonna be my mother next or my wife next, like, and then you also gotta put into the picture like if you're like me and you believe in Jesus, then you gotta put into the picture that when you get married, the two become one flesh. So it's kind of like you're saving yourself if you go for your wife, or like if your wife's not part of the picture. Like there's so many different situations and different outcomes and stuff. Sorry, it's my dog. But there's so many different ways that this can happen, and different importances, if you want to call it that, and different love and all these different things. So I didn't expect much from TikTok anyways, but it was definitely a topic that I wanted to talk about, and I've been wanting to talk to somebody for a while, and I haven't made a podcast. So this, I guess I'll make this my first episode. So you already saw the title. It's my first episode. It's probably like 15 minutes, 14 or something. But it's definitely gonna be my first episode. It's not long at all. That's what I meant by the time. So if there's any other topics, anything at all, I would definitely ask you to put that in the comments. Any questions you have, any like scenarios or something. I know there was like there's like 5 old people from ages 70 to 80 or something tied to a railroad, and there's a train coming like a million miles an hour, and you could readjust it, but then there's like a kid on the other track or something. So you kill 5 old people or 1 kid. It's like I know there's little things like that, scenario based situations, and it tells you like, oh, you're this type of person. You know, it's all crazy stuff, but I am willing to talk about it. So if you have anything you want me to talk about in my next podcast episode, just like I said, leave it down in the comments. Don't forget to drop that like, because that really helps me out a lot. I know I'm a very small channel. If you check out my subscribers, it's a very, very small channel. But just like a like and definitely a comment of anything, that will help me out a lot and give me some motivation to keep going. So I appreciate everything. Vega out.